I'm really not expecting anything out of this video, out of making this video, and I don't have anything specific to say really. I just want to share the energy that I'm feeling right now. I feel like just now I realized that it's really, really true. Unironically, what they say. That it can never be good enough. You can never be satisfied. Even if you get everything you say that you want. And so I just want to make this video right now to capture this feeling and see if you feel it too. You see how, like, when you're playing any video game and you beat the video game and then you're like in God mode because basically, let's say your level is far above any enemy in the world and they just don't pose a challenge to you anymore. So everything that has to be done is done. There's nothing for you to do. You can just walk around freely and do whatever, and there's no more opposition. And it gets boring in like 10 minutes at that point. A game that you might have enjoyed thoroughly until that point. And that's not to say that problems make life more enjoyable. It's just to say that it really doesn't matter because you're not going to be happy either way. And it's not really about being happy or having fun all the time. Can you see that too? Imagine if you're always happy, always entertained. Like, yeah, okay, you know, but at the same time, like, that's nice, right? But don't you feel that too, at some point you would be like, okay, but isn't there anything deeper than this? And then also, even though you get something like really deep, like, oh wow, the nature of the universe, it's like this and like that, and then that becomes normal, and you're like, oh yeah, duh, like the ultimate truth, I knew that, I've seen it. How long is that entertaining for? Things are only like so spectacular and amazing and entertaining and, you know, crazy. They only excite you that much because they are not there all the time. So it literally doesn't matter. Even if you can have like a perfect world, perfect bliss, that shit's gonna get boring, isn't it? I can really feel that, how nothing will ever be good enough. So it's like, what do you want to do? There's nothing to do. Also don't really know like what message to really bring in this video. There's a few things that I could say, but it feels like it really doesn't matter. It really doesn't. And people who are so concerned about success and all of that, they're just really majorly deluded, it feels. How is it ever going to be good enough? What could ever make it good enough, really? I received so many blessings in my life. And I've even lived my perfect dream life. Like literally, when I sat down after everything that's happened over the last 1.5 years, And I asked myself again, like, okay, what would be the ideal thing? Like, what would be the ideal day in the life? And then I thought back at my life that I've lived over the last 1.5 years, right? That I've basically now quit, and realized, yeah, that's exactly what I wanted. But it wasn't good enough. It's not that it wasn't good enough. It was perfect, and I recognized that in the moment. It's just that, now there's a couple of things. But I guess the main point, like, I'm not really gonna get into it, but the main point, I guess, it was just being insecure and unsatisfied. Maybe those two things. And what could make life good enough now? I keep asking myself this question, like, what do I want? And I already know there's nothing that I want. There's some things in my life that I just don't like. I hate them. I want to be rid of those things, rid of those circumstances. It feels heavy. Yeah, it can always be better. Gonna be very few people who will stick around until this point in this video. I know that. And to me, it's kind of funny that I'm making this video, because I don't exactly feel like it's gonna do anything good for me. And there's some slight insecurity that, oh, you know, what if somebody you know sees this video and they think it's funny? They kind of like poke fun at you or something. Whatever. It's like just a net negative, you know, making this video, to me. But you get to a point where you're like, I don't know what to do anymore. Like, I'm done. I'm out of ideas. I'm clueless. And you just admit it to yourself, because nothing works, you know? Get to that point. Maybe that's in part what life is about. Just getting to the point where you're giving up because you realize that nothing works, really. And it might sound depressing, but it's really not. It's just, I want to say it is what it is, but it doesn't feel like that's accurate. I guess it's just that we don't know, and we don't understand the whole point of this, our reason for being. And so we're struggling with that. I don't know. It's just kind of funny, isn't it? I mean, some part of me is just thinking that maybe somebody will be somehow comforted by this video. Maybe that could be something. I don't know. What do you aspire to do? What do you aspire to become? Who are you trying to be? Trying to be rich, famous, wanting everything to be perfect, wanting everybody to like you. Imagine that life. How long truly would it take till you're sick of it? If you really let yourself be there for a moment, isn't it a very short time before you say, I want something more, I want something different, I want something more exciting? When is it ever going to be good enough? Like, what specifically is the criteria for it being good enough? I tend to be like this myself. I'm not trying to be like acting like I'm super wise and whatever, you know. Because I myself always think like, oh, I could have thought of something better than this, you know. And yeah, I probably could have, if it's about being excited or whatever. At the same time, you gotta admit that nothing is really gonna be exciting if you yourself already know what's gonna happen. If you made yourself, and if you made everything the way you wanted it to be and you already know how it's gonna turn out, and you have perfect safety, so there's no adrenaline or nothing. It's just a very sheltered experience, very always comfortable. Sometimes we need rest. I think what it ultimately comes down to is just embracing yourself, just embracing who you are, and perhaps more importantly, embracing the fact that this is all temporary. Maybe you're gonna persist after death, or maybe not, we don't know. I think it's fair to say that we're not gonna persist as who we are in this life. We're gonna change for sure if we are persisting after death, or we're gonna go back to who we were originally. Probably a lot more free-spirited and just better all around. But I think if we can just be that right now in this life, then that's gonna be its own reward. And maybe it's the only real reward that there is. Of course, having a very meaningful purpose like a child is probably gonna feel very meaningful and important, and it's going to make a lot of the things that you have to go through in life feel worth it. But I think it all starts with really living as yourself. I think that's the first step. Not being afraid of whatever might happen or what people might think or say about you. just regardless of whatever will happen or what will not happen, you're just being yourself and doing what you really think that you should do, or doing whatever you really want or feel like. Just embracing yourself. And I think you can do that at a deeper and deeper level. I think the ultimate state of being is just being your most authentic self, like completely unshackled. Of course, it doesn't mean that you now do not care about others, but that you're just not worried about them. You're not worried about what will happen to you and what they will think. So you might listen to them or you might not, just very rationally, but it doesn't affect you emotionally. You're just stable, right? And of course you can still go through ups and downs, but there's like two ways to experience all these emotions. Like literally none of the emotions that you're going through are a problem. I've been very depressed for a very long time, and the longer it continued, I think I was depressed for at least 12 years. But in recent years, I just really stopped feeling like it's a problem. I never took medication or anything. And I was really suicidally depressed. Maybe I still am. It really doesn't matter. Like it's literally not a problem. It really isn't. It might sound strange, right? Like, how could you be suicidally depressed but not feel like it's a problem at all? And maybe that sounds like I would be jaded or something, but no. It's kind of strange. I guess it's just the recognition that your emotions are not the problem. And your circumstances are really not the problem. It's just what you make of them. And I'm starting to see that, I've started to see more and more that depression too has its ups and downs, you know? So yeah, I might not feel so great, but at the same time, it makes me think about life deeply. It makes me think about like the deeper truths, which if I wasn't depressed, maybe I would not care about them. And it's really strange it's probably strange to hear this, right? Like saying that I don't even care if I'm happy or not. I like literally do not. It really does not matter. It's really not important. Something somebody said in a video that I watched like 2 weeks ago or something was that rather than trying to be happy, you should try to find something that engages you. And that's a little closer to it, I feel. But I think one step further is what I said, which is to be your most authentic self. And then that becomes its own reward. And that's how you will start to feel engaged in everything that you're doing. And then it doesn't matter how you feel, like if you're feeling good or bad. To me, honestly, the thing that still bothers me, like the only emotion that is still bothering me is like tedium and boredom. no, not really boredom, but yeah, tedium, drudgery, that kind of thing, you know. I still don't really want to accept living a life of monotony. And honestly, that's why my previous life fell apart. It's not that there was something monotonous that I had to do. There were some, of course, there was some work that I had to do, which was repetitive every day, but I didn't mind doing that at all. It's, yeah, really, it's inaccurate to say that my life fell apart because of that. It was just not being willing to take further risks, because I knew what it was leading to was more monotony if it kept going the way it was going. At least I thought that. Like, looking back now, I feel like, you know what, this might have been the life that I was, you know, maybe I missed it. Maybe I was meant to continue down the path that I was going down, and I just kind of messed it up by feeling guilty and hesitating and all that stuff. I feel like by now nobody's gonna listen to this anymore. But the funny thing about that is that also makes me not care about sharing whatever. It's like, okay, you know, nobody's gonna listen to it anyway. But then even if you do, it shouldn't be important. What do you think? To me. It cannot be. If you care what I think about you, you're placing me above yourself. You're putting yourself in a position of inferiority. And so then, even if I give you validation, you will feel invalidated, because who am I to tell you what you're worth? And if you make me submit to you somehow, if you prove your superiority to me, and then you make me say that, okay, you're better than me, you still won't feel good enough, because you will think, okay, this guy is just less than me. His opinion doesn't really matter. I need to be validated by somebody equal to me, or somebody better. So you see, it never turns out for you. You can only validate yourself, really. I'm still struggling with this how do you say, a little bit, whatever, to some degree. But yeah, that's your, maybe that's your little nugget for you who is stuck around until the end. If you have any questions, any comments, leave them in the comments. I will read all of them. Thank you for listening, and good luck. Take care. Bye-bye.